After Derek Chauvin was found guilty of all 3 charges in the murder of George Floyd, lawmakers in Washington allegedly have breathed a sigh of relief because this means that there's less pressure on them to do their jobs, less pressure on them to govern, to legislate, to protect their own constituents from police violence. This is according to a report from Axios, where they write an acquittal or mistrial in the Derek Chauvin case involving the former police officer would have unleashed days more of protests and added bipartisan pressure to act on criminal and police reform. But since that's no longer the case, since we know that the jury found Derek Chauvin guilty of all 3 counts, senior Democratic and Republican aides who would never let their bosses say so on the record privately said the convictions have lessened pressure for change. They noted the aftermath of mass shootings. Time and time again, Congress has failed to pass gun control legislation, and the conversation ultimately moves on until another terrible event occurs. So the people who are talking to Axios are staffers and aides who work for these lawmakers, so they have inside knowledge into what these lawmakers are thinking. They just don't want to do their jobs. They just don't want to do their jobs. Like, oh, like most Americans saw that verdict and felt relief because we're not used to seeing any accountability when we have police shootings, right? For lawmakers, they're like, oh my God, we don't have to do our jobs. We don't have to do our job. Oh my God, can we go back to fundraising now, please? Like, it's embarrassing.
Yep. Some other part of the system barely worked, so this part of the system doesn't have to. It's so pathetic. Even like, I don't know if we can put up that last graphic a second ago. I know that this isn't like Nancy Pelosi that wrote the graphic, but the way it's worded is so perfect because Congress has failed to pass gun control legislation, and the conversation ultimately moves on until another terrible event occurs. The thing about that is that another terrible event always does occur though. It's like you always have another mass shooting. It's almost like the lack of action is contributing to it. So, but you get how the pattern is gonna play out in this case. The conversation might go away. It's unlikely to last long because the police kill people all the time. But they are gonna do it again. Is it possible that maybe that's a bad thing that we should try to ward off? Why did you get into politics? Is it just to go to like cocktail parties?
Yes.
You have power, you seem to like it. Why not use it for something?
No, I mean, it's full of Smeagol's. Full of Smeagol's.
Go on.
Congress is the ring, right? And they just want the power, that's it. That's all it is, they want the power. And look, let's also-
That's true, it's not like Smeagol ever conquered anything. He just huddled in his cave with it.
Yeah, poor Smeagol though.
Yeah, he wasn't ambitious.
He didn't want it, it just happened. Anyway, that's a different discussion for a different time, although we should have it. No, but look, it's not just for power's sake. Think about what happens after they leave Congress. That's when the big payday happens.
That's true.
Right? I mean, think about all the insider trading that takes place. Brazen insider trading that takes place out in the open. We all know about it, we all see it. They get to do it, right? They get to be personally invested in individual stocks. And they're the ones who are supposed to be regulating these companies, guys. I mean, it's the best grift in the world.
Yeah, that's true. Although at least recently, the system also kind of worked in that 2 of the biggest open grifters lost their Senate re-election bids in Georgia.
That's
so
true.
That's certainly true. I don't look. I don't find it to be particularly surprising. They are cowards. They're not leaders, even the ones who are called leaders. I get it in that they're right. Maybe eventually the conversation will move on. That's on us, I guess. So let's do like Maxine Waters says and not back down. Let's stay confrontational, including with Dem leadership. That said, I will never understand the lack of wanting to actually use the power that you have. Like we're seeing it with them. Trump, I guess one of the benefits with Trump was that he was so lazy that he was president and he didn't want to do anything.
No, he did. I mean,
What would you do?
He got his tax cuts passed.
That's true, he got that. But like, I would be digging through the archives, finding out the secrets, spoiling stuff for the whole country. He didn't want to do anything. They're all Trumps at the end of the day. They want power, but they don't know for what.
Exactly.
Except money.
And look, even Joe Biden, unilaterally, he can do a lot. David Dayen had a whole series on the American Prospect about what the president of the United States can do constitutionally in the first 100 days. And there was so much that could have been done to, in the very least, lessen the pain and suffering that people have been experiencing during this pandemic as a result of police violence, all of that. And he didn't do any of it. He could have single-handedly and unilaterally expanded Medicare to ensure that every single person who lost their health insurance as a result of being laid off from the pandemic would get healthcare coverage. Instead, he went along with pressuring Congress to pass a relief bill that paid for Cobra. I mean, it's just, we have a lot of criticism for Republicans, clearly, but that criticism also extends to Democrats, especially when they pull stunts like this. And I'll leave you with this one final point. This month, just to the point in this whole piece, this month, Biden backed down from his campaign promise to create a police reform commission, saying that he would back other legislation making its way through Congress. Well, I mean, he knows that there's no legislation making its way through Congress.
It's all just people pointing at each other.
Yeah.
So like Congress is like, no, they got it over there. Biden's like, no, Congress has got it over there. I don't know. I guess for the most part, local governments also and governors, they don't want to do anything either.
No. Until, by the way, you threaten them with a recall. And then they start whipping things back to shape, right? I'm not saying that Gavin Newsom is doing that. I'm saying that he's at least trying, whereas before he was having fancy dinners in Napa Valley with his lobbyists while everyone else was suffering in the state of California.
That's true.
Gavin Newsom sucks, so does Eric Garcetti.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.